Hey, Jessie.
Hey,
how you doing?
Good to see you, Jessie. Come on
Good
in.
to see you, Jess.
We'll grab this.
Oh, cool.
You know what to do with that. Keep it around there.
Yep, cool.
Then you can talk to the people out there.
Awesome.
And we're live on the Facebooks.
Cool.
Yeah.
Hello. Grab a T-shirt. Everyone should grab
You've
a
got a
T-shirt,
picture
by the
later.
way.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
When you go.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
Ah,
Interactiv business. We'll be
now,
able to
before we get into this
Yes.
with Jess and Vaka, Interactiv, we are going to ask you, I think we probably
We
asked
might have
about 4
asked you.
times now, what still makes you happy?
Yeah.
So I'm a bit of a weirdo when it comes to answering this question because for me it's about challenge. I love challenges. Like I live for them. So when I wake up in the morning, one key thing that I try and do is remind myself what are the top challenges that I'm trying to solve in my business, even in personal life, try and maintain balance. And then I start strategizing in the morning, the quiet time, my brain's awake and it's early, it's a great time to do it. I start figuring out what am I going to do today to solve these challenges. And it just gets me pumped. I don't know what it is about
Wow, that's
it.
awesome.
It's a little weird, but yeah.
It's not weird. It's interesting.
It's not weird.
Interesting,
Very cool.
interesting, yeah.
Very cool.
No, it's good. It's driven. It means driven,
thank you,
man.
yeah.
That's what it is.
No, I was going to say you're part of the startup thing, but you know, you've moved on from startup.
Yeah, well,
Do you still see yourself as a startup?
technically, yeah,
Well, Vaka
technically,
Interactiv, like yourself.
yeah. So we're still early stage in terms of our business journey. We've only been around barely 2 years, and we're heading towards the end of our R&D phase for our first product. So we're hoping to have that ready to go in a couple of months, 2 or 3 months.
For those that don't know, explain what that is.
Yeah,
Because we
yeah.
know, and we're going to sit there and go, wow,
To be
this is
fair,
cool.
we know.
But,
It's one of the most unexpected and engaging things you'll ever
We've
see.
built it up a bit now, so
wow.
good luck with that.
pressure. No, that's all right.
Better than Star Wars.
Yeah, so
It's awesome.
So we're building interactive digital portraits, which is a boring way to say Harry Potter style portraits.
Exactly.
We're bringing portraits to life, and we can use that in so many different ways to create high levels of engagement, to make an experience more compelling. Specifically, we're focusing on the museum sector and the culture sector as a whole, especially around helping people to find more interest in a culture that they're not familiar with. Which, for example, Te Papa have a large audience of foreign visitors that will come through on the cruise ships and whatnot to check out culture.
Yep.
And they go through those exhibitions and often they'll leave like, whoa, like I didn't realize that Maori culture was like this fascinating, or that the Gallipoli story was that intense and that emotional, you know? So it's quite cool to be in a space like that. We're specifically focusing first on Māori and Pacific Island culture because it's an area in the museum sector that has a need for innovation, being able to more authentically tell the stories and the culture of Māori and Pacific Island people.
Yep.
So the type of experience that we're hoping to generate through interacting with our portraits is something called ethnocultural empathy, which is a big flash sounding word.
Now, did you make that up, or is that an actual thing?
Write that down.
Okay.
Write that down,
So-
everybody. Sorry?
We came across it. It wasn't that we made it up, but we kind of like started looking at the type of impact we wanted from a broad perspective. And we realized it was empathy, because when you connect with somebody, that's the primary type of experience that you want. You want to understand them, right? So as we talked about empathy, we felt like it's too broad. It doesn't really nail the type of empathy that we want people to experience. And so we did a little bit of research online, and we found that there's this new term that's still in its infantile stages of being known, called ethnocultural empathy, which means
Sounds
to see and understand a culture from the culture's perspective,
I
rather
see.
than an outside perspective.
Not from yours necessarily, also. Looking
It's
in.
their story, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Be in and go immerse yourself.
Yeah, I can give you an example if you
Please
want.
do,
Yeah.
yes.
So in Te Papa Museum, there's this huge whare whakairo, this meeting house that's carved. It's the oldest in the world, the oldest surviving. And there's a really cool story around how that was created and all those kinds of things. We spent some time observing people experiencing this building, because when you walk into the Māori exhibition, it's the largest object there, and when you see it, you're just drawn to it naturally, especially foreign visitors who know very little about Māori culture. We observed some really interesting things from that. In about 2 hours, we watched around, I think it was about 150 to almost 200 people walk in and out. And on average, we timed every single one of them. They were only spending 30 seconds to a minute max inside the building. And the interesting thing was just kind of overhearing some of their conversations. They would leave the whare making comments like, the craftsmanship is beautiful, or some of the kids would say, "Oh, they look kind of scary." What they didn't realize is that beyond that,
Yes.
they were actually looking at a building that was all about family, and that the carvings represented ancestors who were very significant, and that each carving was different for a reason because they each told different stories. They're not scary, I mean, although it can look like that from an outside perspective.
Yeah.
So when we realized that what was missing was a human voice that has the cultural authority to be able to tell those stories. So that's kind of where the idea was born, from that observation. Yeah.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And from the if you want to be live, sorry, Jess, you
no
can
worries,
come
no.
on here live if you want, but probably best not to. Just the process you have then is now I can try, but it's best if you tell them how not necessarily how it works, but what they will see if they went to.
Yeah, I'll take you through a basic experience from start to finish. Yeah.
Nice.
So the trick with this technology is to ensure that from the beginning through to the end, it's a magical experience. You want that element of magic because it's naturally compelling, first of all.
Yeah.
And that's very challenging. So, for example, the way it works is at first glance, it's going to be a still portrait.
Yeah.
And everything from the choice of hardware that we use to how we write the software has to make sure that it gives off, at first glance, that natural appearance of a portrait.
It's another painting hanging on the wall.
Yep,
It's
that's
just another one.
Yeah.
And
For
it does.
example, the monitor has to be made out of a certain type of material to be able to give that off and all that kind of stuff. So at first glance, it seems like a portrait. People walk up to it, and as they get close enough, using facial detection, the portrait can know somebody's in front of it, and then comes to life. And the way that we bring the character to life is subtle at first. So it's like a blink like
Yes.
that. And all of a sudden, someone's like, holy heck, did that thing just blink at me? And then it becomes, in that moment, it becomes interesting enough that they want to spend a little bit more time seeing where this is going to go. And that's really important in a space that can often be drowned by a lot of information that's printed on labels, which is really important, but sometimes hard to grab people's attention. So they come read me, right? So portrait character blinks a little bit, comes to life, introduces, the character introduces himself or herself. And then, as the introductory dialogue continues, they pose a question to the visitor. And then the visitor's standing there for this moment of almost disbelief, like, can I respond to this?
That's right, yes.
Is this what's happening right now? And then they can actually respond, and then that conversation goes back and forth. And so, as that takes place, it just becomes more enriching and more compelling along the way. And there's applications to take this to different heights and levels by using things like the Internet of Things. The portrait can start to activate spotlights and speakers to bring all these different elements of storytelling to life.
Yeah.
Bit of a Jarvis sort of thing, eh?
Yeah,
Nice.
and even using multiple portraits where the character can move between different portraits. Now you've got a wayfinding guided experience. That
Come with me, I want to show you. You know, I talked about this thing? Well, it's over there.
That's it.
Come with me.
Connects the dots for you. Yeah. So when you leave, you're like, I see the bigger picture now instead of just learning bits and pieces of things. So
It's getting better for a second.
yeah. So those are some of the ideas that we're experimenting with right now. Yeah.
This is so cool.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
It is. I mean,
Yeah.
I know it's glib. And, you know, the best thing is you don't have to say it with a Uber of or with a Airbnb of. You can go with the actual Harry Potter. That's so cool. And for those that, you know, find it hard to think about, I mean, it is that, if you imagine, in that sense, that the Harry Potter films where the characters go through Dumbledore's, it is exactly that.
Yeah.
It looks better though, I reckon.
It does.
Yeah, it does look better.
Because it's not the background.
Yeah, but it's not this
down
faded
where
sort of
there.
thing. It's just bam in your face.
So,
great.
you've been around for 2 years. You're here. Where are you at, and what's the next stages for this?
Yeah, so we went through the Mahuki Accelerator program, last year. So we went through it for 3 or 4 months, finished in December. We're originally from Auckland, so we had to make the decision, do we go back or do we stay?
Yep.
Wellington has our hearts. So
Sorry, everybody else.
I am going to get a lot of crap for saying that from some Aucklanders,
probably.
but I'm sorry. Hey, I'm born and bred in Auckland, so
all right.
I can at least say this from my own experience that I, at this stage of my life, am loving Wellington, and I think I'm going to keep loving Wellington.
Everybody says that. Yeah.
It's not
Can't
as bad
help
as some Aucklanders think it is.
They actually think it's bad.
Yeah, well, I
Crazy
was
talk.
warned many times about different things before I moved down here, and I got down here, I'm like, What the heck? None of that stuff matters. What the heck?
To be fair, it's the other way around as well.
No one can be
I
like
can
this.
imagine
No
that.
one talks to each other.
Yeah.
You're whatever.
Yeah.
So at this stage, we've decided to stay in Wellington. We were paired up with these amazing mentors from Mahuki, Miriam Barbarich and John Moore, who work for Experience Design. They're design consultants, and they have provided a wealth of knowledge for us in the last 5 or 6 months since the program finished.
Yep.
We're working with them in their space now, so we get to see them in action. They're able to give us real-time feedback while we're there working with them as well. So it's been an amazing experience for us to go from that accelerator environment to this environment. Currently, in terms of where our business is at, we're nearing the end of R&D. So once we finish R&D, we can start to then sell, grow, scale. And right now for us, one of the most important things is to figure out not necessarily more about the product, but the process of creating these characters. So it's super important, right? Because the hardware and the software can only do so much on its own, but the content is really where the impact lies.
Yeah.
So we have to figure out how can we streamline it so then we're not taking way too long creating new characters. But at the same time, how can we ensure that we're applying key principles that will drive impact through the content creation? Everything from how the animation looks to the script. You name it. So
That's cool.
You talking to Dan from Weather? The Weather
I haven't
guys?
yet. I've been wanting to though, because
yes.
what they're doing, holy heck.
Yes.
I've always admired Weather though. They're amazing. Yeah,
They are amazing, but I mean, the thing about them, of course, it's generally a one big boom hit, done, move on. Whereas yours is much more longevity is potentially there.
Yeah,
Anyway,
and there's the ability to add and take away as time goes on as well. So
well, you've got to talk with those.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
If nothing else, as you say about the process, because they've had a long time to try and hone their own process, and I'm sure there's bits you go, you don't do that first, do that.
That's right. Yeah,
I can
I've
see
learned
why
a lot,
you do
so
that.
you might as well use some of that.
Yeah. I mean, as with most startups, learning is key. Consistently learning as well. So, for example, I just stumbled across a lot of the learning courses through LinkedIn, through lynda.com, and oh my gosh, like I spent a few days just like going through some key courses that I wanted to know more about in business, and it just opened my mind in ways that I couldn't without that knowledge. So it's finding different avenues of education on a daily basis to keep us hungry, keep us going, but to also make sure that we're avoiding common mistakes that startups can make without realizing it.
Yeah, you don't want to reinvent the wheel and then have the wheel fall off.
Oh yeah.
Just do it differently.
Oh,
That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
That is very cool.
Yeah.
Now, where can people find you?
Yes. They can find us here in Wellington. If you want to come see us, we're on Blair Street.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Around Blair Street.
Yeah,
You're on
just
Blair
down
Street.
there.
Yeah.
Actually, I think I saw you walking past the other day.
did you?
Yeah.
Wellington. There's Wellington right there.
That's Wellington in action, right there.
Yep.
I've got to come and visit again.
Yeah, so
Neighbours.
definitely come see us in the office. We're more than happy to meet with people and talk with them. You can email me, Jessie at vakainteractiv.com. Just make sure that there's no E at the end of interactive, otherwise you'll probably get an email bounce back. But we're taking care of that as well. So yeah, there's that. LinkedIn, yep, find me on LinkedIn. Our website is currently going through a huge redesign, so if you go to our website, you can contact us through there, but you'll just get a construction up page right now. So
I have a quick question on Facebook.
Sure.
Laura asks, is there anywhere you can see the demos and the portraits in action
Yes.
in Auckland or Wellington?
Yes, so here's the really cool thing, Laura. We're about to roll out our first pilot test in Auckland with the National Maritime Museum and the Viaduct.
There you go.
And of course, this is quite fitting. They want to put it in the Vaka exhibition. They've got this entire exhibition dedicated to Vaka.
To you.
And they really want to see what difference it can make having a more human presence in the exhibition. So we're working with them to roll that out, hoping the next few months to have that ready to go. In Wellington, we're working right now with some potential pilot testing as well with some organisations. But we're hoping to have some footage on our website very soon.
I was going to say, there was footage at one point.
There was, yeah. We had a quick little clip.
Yeah.
But we've made some progress since then with what we've developed, so we've got to get some footage of that.
Put the new one up. Yeah. That's cool.
If you want to see something really, really raw, didn't we film at Wellington?
Wellington, we did a quick little vox pop.
Over your shoulder.
Yeah,
So
that's right. Yeah.
if you go to Access Granted and look at Wellitech 2017, which is on YouTube, you'll have to scroll through it all.
It's towards the
So
end.
it's towards the end. And Jess and the team were there, and we had a yarn and we filmed over the shoulder, so you can see it there. But in real life is absolutely.
That's what it's for, right? Yeah. It's great.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thanks for your
Thank
time,
you
mate.
so
That's good to
much.
see you.
No worries. Good to see you guys too.
Yeah,
All right,
yeah.
and if you don't, we will connect you with
Others.
Yep.
Yeah,
I'll see if I can find
just
them
find
around.
them now.
Perfect.
You'll be here.
Excellent.
They'll be eating lunch.
We'll take that off.
Cheers, mate.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good to see you again.
Awesome,
Yeah.
mate. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, Jessie. See you later.